Welcome to Bookish Mind, Season 05, Episode 16. Today we're diving into Chapter 16 of Daniel Goleman's book, Focus. And we're tackling a really big question. How do video games actually impact our brains? And, maybe more importantly, can we harness them for good?
It's a fascinating area, definitely.
So yeah, today we're doing a deep dive into how these interactive digital experiences shape our minds. We'll be using insights from the case studies and science in the chapter. Our mission really is to unpack the surprising ways games can boost cognitive skills, but also, the potential pitfalls we need to watch out for.
Right, the downsides.
Exactly. We're about to get into the hidden wiring of your brain.
Okay.
So let's kick things off with a pretty amazing story. Daniel Cates.
Ah, yes, the poker player.
Right. He went from being a 6-year-old hooked on Command and Conquer to a world champ in online poker. His journey, it just gives this unique window into how gaming can shape brain development.
It really does.
His dedicated routine started super young, age 6, with Command and Conquer. Came bundled with Windows back then.
I remember that.
Yeah. And apparently, he'd rather spend hours commanding armies in the basement than playing outside with other kids.
Intense focus from the start.
Totally. Then in high school, he'd actually cut class to play Minesweeper. Got so good, he could clear it in 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Wow, that's fast.
Right. Seems impossible. Then, at 16, he finds online poker. And get this, in just 18 months, he goes from losing $5 games to winning, like, $500,000 purses online.
That's an incredible jump.
Isn't it? And by the time he was 20, Cates had banked around $5.5 million.
Astonishing. And what's really fascinating is how he did it. His method, what they call grinding.
Right, playing multiple games at once.
Exactly. Not just game after game, but several simultaneous games. Instant feedback, win or lose. It just massively fast-tracked his learning.
So he crammed years of practice into a short time.
Yeah, he basically got as much practice in a few years as a traditional poker player might get in decades, playing only at physical tables. And if you connect this back, his knack for poker probably built on what Goleman calls the cognitive scaffolding from Command and Conquer.
Scaffolding. Like the basic skill.
Yeah, the foundations. That game demands speedy processing, being vigilant for cues, strategic thinking. Those attention skills, that sort of killer instinct, they transferred pretty readily to poker.
Okay, but the story takes a turn, right?
Yeah.
And this part shows, a real personal cost. Despite all the success, in his 20s, Cates kind of woke up to the barrenness of his social world and, a non-existent romantic life.
Right, the human connection side.
Yeah. He started trying to figure out a lifestyle where he could actually enjoy his winnings, asking himself, what would that even look like? His answer was apparently exercise, girls.
Simple enough goals.
He found out pretty quick that world-class online skills, like, being super aggressive at the first sign of weakness, they don't exactly translate well to, say, singles night at the local bar.
No, I imagine not. That's a very different game.
Right. So Cates' story highlights this paradox. You can have this incredible cognitive growth in one specific area, but it might come at the expense of others. So what does this tell us about how our brains actually learn?
Well, it brings up a really important point about brain plasticity. The psychologist Donald Hebb's idea, neurons that fire together wire together.
Okay, I've heard that.
It basically explains how the brain is constantly reshaping itself. Whatever we do repeatedly, the brain strengthens those specific circuits.
Got it. Practice makes permanent.
Exactly. And in online interactions like poker, that crucial learning loop for interpersonal skills, the things that help us connect, make good impressions, it's largely missing.
So no practice for the social brain.
Pretty much. Thousands of hours online can mean the wiring of the social brain gets almost no exercise. And this is key for you listening. You need to think about what you're wiring in your own brain with the activities you choose.
Right. So Cates' story leads us to this bigger debate that's been going on for years. What is the actual impact of video games on our minds?
Yeah, it's a huge question.
Mark Smith from the Social Media Research Foundation points out that the majority of our socialization is flowing through machines.
Which is a profound shift.
Definitely. And the debates rage, don't they? Some studies say games damage the mind. Others say they boost brain power. Are they sinister training for aggression, or are they training vital attention skills? Or maybe both.
Well, to try and sort this out, the journal Nature actually brought together a panel of experts.
Okay. And what did they find?
Their conclusion was essentially, it all depends.
Ah. Not a simple answer then.
Not at all. They compare it to food. Some is nutritious, but too much of other kinds can be toxic.
That makes sense.
So the real insight isn't a simple yes or no. It's realizing that we need to be specific. We have to ask, which game are we talking about? Which brain circuits does it engage? And what kind of impact does that have?
Right. Nuance is key.
Exactly. For instance, those really fast-paced action games, think hyperactive racing games or rapid-fire shooters. There's data showing they enhance things like visual attention, how fast you process information, tracking objects, and switching between tasks.
Okay, so tangible benefits there.
Yes. And many even provide a sort of silent tutorial in statistical inference. Instinctively sensing the odds of beating an enemy based on your resources.
Interesting. And more broadly, other types of games can improve things like visual acuity, spatial perception, attention switching, decision-making, tracking objects. It sounds like a real brain workout.
It can be, especially games that offer progressively harder challenges, the ones that demand more accurate judgments, faster reactions, complete focus, bigger working memory. Those really seem to drive positive changes in the brain.
Okay.
Yeah, cognitive scientist Douglas Gentile points out how constantly scanning the screen for tiny differences helps improve those attentional skills.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Well, yeah. Gentile cautions that these skills don't always transfer well to life off the screen. They might be valuable for, say, an air traffic controller, but they probably won't help you ignore a fidgety kid next to you while you're trying to read.
Okay, so the transferability is limited.
It can be. And some experts worry that these fast-paced games might get kids used to a level of stimulation that's just very different from a classroom, which could lead to more boredom in school.
That leads to a really critical point, doesn't it? While games might strengthen rapid visual filtering, they don't seem to do much for the skill of sustaining focus. Concentrating on information that unfolds gradually.
Exactly, like paying attention in class or really understanding what you're reading and connecting it to past knowledge. That sustained attention is different.
And there's that negative correlation often found between gaming hours and school performance.
Right, which likely comes down to time. Displacement time spent gaming is time not spent studying.
Makes sense. There was that big 2-year study in Singapore.
Oh yeah, with over 3,000 kids.
They found that kids who became extreme gamers showed increases in anxiety, depression, social phobia, and their grades dropped.
But importantly, those issues decreased if they stopped gaming.
Which suggests a causal link, or at least a strong relationship.
It certainly points that way. Then, of course, there's the downside of games that, fine-tune the brain for rapid, often violent responses.
The aggression link.
Yeah. Now, the expert panel felt some dangers here have been maybe exaggerated in the popular press. Violent games might increase low-level aggression, but they don't automatically turn a well-adjusted kid into a violent person.
Okay, that's an important clarification.
But there could be a dangerous synergism, as they put it, for kids who are already vulnerable, say kids experiencing physical abuse.
So it interacts with existing vulnerabilities.
Potentially. And even setting aside extreme violence, spending hours battling enemies who are trying to kill you, well, it understandably encourages what are called hostile attribution bias.
Meaning?
Meaning you're quicker to assume someone who bumps into you in the hallway did it on purpose, out of malice.
Seeing threats where there aren't any.
Sort of, yeah. And equally troubling, some studies show violent gamers display less concern when they see others being mean, like in bullying situations.
That's worrying. It really makes you think about the kind of mental menu, as Goleman calls it, that we're consuming or feeding our kids.
Absolutely. One neuroscientist described recent generations as an unprecedented experiment because their brains are being plastically engaged in such vastly different ways compared to the past.
We've laid out some clear potential downsides. But you mentioned plasticity that works both ways, doesn't it? Where are the opportunities for positive change?
Definitely. On the plus side, many games demand you stay focused despite lots of distractions popping up. That enhances executive function.
So things like planning, impulse control.
Exactly, those higher level skills. And if a game requires you to cooperate and coordinate with other players, well, then you're actually rehearsing valuable social skills.
So co-op games are different.
Seems so. Studies show kids who play cooperative games tend to be more helpful in their daily lives.
That's interesting.
It raises a cool question. Could those purely violent me-against-the-world games be redesigned so that winning actually requires helping others, finding allies, not just hostile scanning?
A design challenge.
Yeah, something for you to think about regarding the games you play, or the ones you let others play.
So what if we intentionally designed games to be good for us? I mean, think about something like Angry Birds. Millions of people, billions of hours spent flicking birds.
Incredible engagement.
Right. So if neurons that fire together wire together, what mental skills, if any, are you or your kids tuning up when lost in games like that?
Well, the key insight here is that the brain learns best when focus is strongest. And video games are incredibly powerful at grabbing and holding attention and encouraging repetition. They're potent tutorials,
Okay.
which presents this huge opportunity for deliberate brain training. Michael Posner's group at the University of Oregon did a study.
Yeah.
They gave kids aged 4 to 6 just over 3 hours of attention training using a simple joystick game over 5 days.
3 hours total. That's not much.
Not much at all. But brainwave data suggested a shift in their executive attention circuits towards more adult-like pattern.
Wow. From just 3 hours.
Yeah. So the thinking is, maybe we should target kids with the poorest attention, those with autism, ADHD, other learning issues, because they might benefit the most.
Makes sense? Remedial help.
Right. But Posner's group goes further. They suggest attention training should be part of every child's education. A boost across the board.
Improve living overall.
Potentially. And it could help with other things too, like visual tracking for lazy eye, or even surgeons improving hand-eye coordination. We're talking direct brain training.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. Research suggests, for instance, that a deficiency in the brain's alerting network might underlie ADHD. And problems in orienting attention are seen in autism.
Okay.
There was a study in the Netherlands with 11-year-olds who had ADHD. They played a computer game demanding vigilance, staying alert for just 8 one-hour sessions.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they were better able to focus despite distractions, even outside the game context.
So some transfer did happen there.
It seemed to. Neuroscientist Michael Merzenich calls the best video games controlled training regimens delivered in highly motivating ways. He believes they cause enduring physical and functional neurological remodeling.
Remodeling the brain.
Yeah. He's even involved in designing games to help retrain the brains of older people experiencing things like memory loss or dementia.
That really does sound incredibly promising, like a whole new approach. Ben Shapiro, who used to head neuroscience research at Merck.
Big pharma guy.
Right. He actually joined the board of a company designing games specifically to increase concentration. He sees advantages in using this kind of smart practice over just medication.
Interesting perspective.
He thinks games could potentially slow the loss of key cognitive functions as we age. He said something like, if you want to make people's mental lives better, work directly with mental targets, rather than molecular ones, drugs or a shotgun approach.
Because the same molecules do many things. Yeah, that makes sense.
But Dr. Merzenich, the neuroscientist you mentioned, he's skeptical about just using any off-the-shelf game, right?
Right. He puts very little stock in the random or mixed benefits you might get from just any popular game.
So what's the alternative?
He, along with Douglas Gentile, advocates for carefully tailoring games to target specific cognitive skills, applying principles of smart practice that good teachers use.
Like what kind of principles?
Things like having clear goals at progressively harder levels, adapting the difficulty to the individual learner's pace, giving immediate feedback, offering challenges that build towards mastery, and crucially, practicing skills in different contexts so they're more likely to transfer.
Okay, so really deliberate, structured design.
Exactly.
Imagine a future where these kinds of brain training games are just a standard part of school.
Yeah.
Games that gather data on how you're doing and fine-tune themselves, like an empathic cognitive tutor.
That's the vision, though the experts admit the money going into educational apps is tiny compared to the budgets of big gaming companies.
Yeah, the financial reality.
But there are signs that might be changing, and this next part, I think, really opens up possibilities for you listening.
Okay.
Goleman describes watching his 4 grandkids, aged 6 up to almost 14, play a beta version of an iPad game called Tenacity.
Tenacity. What's the game about?
The basic challenge, at least initially, is to tap the screen with 1 finger on every exhale and then with 2 fingers on every 5th exhale.
Okay, sinking breath and tapping.
Right. The 6-year-old played first, picked a desert scene. He needed reminders at first, but soon got the hang of coordinating taps and breath. And when he got it right, roses bloomed in the desert scene, which he loved.
Nice feedback.
Yeah. The 8-year-old chose a spiral staircase scene. She stayed focused for the full 10 minutes, tapping away, even though she had a slight fever. There were distractions like helicopters flying by, but she stayed on task.
Impressive focus.
Then the 12-year-old picked a space scene with asteroids and planets as distractions. Unlike the younger ones who controlled their breathing, she just breathed naturally and tapped along.
Interesting difference.
And the oldest, almost 14, did the desert scene effortlessly. Afterwards, she said, "I feel calm and relaxed. I like this game."
Wow.
Apparently, they all got really engrossed, tuning into their breath and the rhythm. The 12-year-old said, "I felt really focused and wanted to play again."
So what's special about Tenacity?
Well, what's intriguing is that it was developed by a game design group at the University of Wisconsin, with input from contemplative neuroscience research.
Ah, so science-backed design.
Exactly. They took findings about focus and calming the mind and embedded them into a game format so kids could get the benefits.
Makes sense.
Tenacity is designed to strengthen selective attention. Richard Davidson, who heads the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds there, calls selective attention the building block for all other kinds of learning.
The foundation.
Right. He emphasizes that self-regulation of attention, being able to focus on your goals and resist distractions, is key to success in pretty much anything. So if you can create a game that kids want to play that naturally engages them, it becomes a really efficient way to train attention, especially given how much time kids already spend gaming.
And maybe they'll actually enjoy the homework.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And this connects to other work, like Stanford's Calming Technology Lab. They focus on things like breathware apps, guiding calming exercises, maybe tackling email apnea.
Email apnea. Holding your breath while checking email.
Yeah, apparently it's common. They even have a course called Designing Calm. One of the teachers, Gus Tai, puts it nicely. A lot of Silicon Valley tech is oriented toward distracting. But with calming tech, we're asking how we can bring more balance to the world.
Bringing balance through tech. That's a hopeful note. So let's wrap this up. What does this all really mean for us?
Well, this deep dive into focus shows pretty clearly that video games aren't just trivial entertainment. They are incredibly powerful tools.
Right. Capable of boosting cognitive skills, but also, if we're not mindful, contributing to things like social isolation or reinforcing certain biases.
And it all comes back to brain plasticity. What you focus on repeatedly is literally what gets wired into your brain.
So the crucial question becomes, when you engage with games or allow others to, are you choosing experiences that train beneficial skills? Things like sustained focus, cooperation, maybe even calm.
Or are you inadvertently strengthening circuits that lead towards hostile thinking or constant distraction? The potential for these smart games to become a standard part of education and well-being seems immense.
Yeah, we've seen how deliberate design, informed by neuroscience, can potentially turn playtime into powerful training. It shows games aren't just influencing us, they're actively shaping our neural pathways.
Definitely.
So maybe the ultimate question isn't whether games impact us, because they clearly do. It's how consciously you choose the experiences that shape your mind.
What kind of cognitive landscape do you want to cultivate for yourself and maybe for the next generation too?
A big question indeed. Plenty for you to mull over. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights to consider. Until next time.